15 years ago, Criminal Minds burst onto our screens, promising a fresh take on crime drama. We were told its principal stars departed for creative reasons or new opportunities. Today, those polite excuses finally crumble. Hidden security footage and insider testimony have exposed terrifying fights, soul-destroying scripts, and sexist cover-ups. Real stories the network begged you to ignore. In this video, we strip away studio spin to reveal why the show's most beloved characters walked away, how their exits rattled CBS's bottom line, and why the truth changes everything you thought you knew about the BIU. Our journey begins in early 2005, when writer-producer Jeff Davis pitched Quantico, a cerebral procedural centered on FBI behavioral analysis. CBS laughed at his proposal, deeming it too smart for primetime. Audiences want car chases. They scoffed, not black and white psychology, heavy dialogue. Davis refused to back down. He spent months consulting retired profilers who had worked real serial killer cases, building scripts around genuine FBI files and painstaking forensics. When the network finally relented, they insisted on a catchier title, Criminal Minds, and demanded more action scenes. What emerged was a genre bender. Heart-pounding chases married to quiet, haunting interrogations of killers' psyches. The show's first episode delivered a ratings bombshell. 16.3 million viewers tuned in on September 22, 2005. Critics praised Mandy Patinkin's riveting debut as senior profiler Jason Gideon, a character built from true stories of agents who nearly collapsed under the weight of their cases. Test audiences wept during scenes of Gideon's breakdown. His raw vulnerability felt unlike anything else on network TV. Patinkin's intensity sold the premise true crime could be both intellectual and emotionally devastating. Behind the alabaster walls of the CBS lot, however, unease simmered. Patinkin, renowned for his principled stances, clashed repeatedly with writers determined to escalate the violence. One 2007 script involving child abuse pushed him past his limit. According to crew members, he left a script read through mid-dialogue, refusing to film a single frame of that harrowing storyline. Production ground to a halt as producers scrambled to rework the script. Publicly, CBS blamed creative differences. Privately, insiders described a man who felt his soul was destroyed with every new draft. After endless negotiations, Patinkin opted out permanently. His character was quietly written off, leaving a vacuum that no other actor could fill. In the wake of Patinkin's departure, CBS faced a painful truth box. Office success wouldn't buy them goodwill forever. Petitions with more than 20,000 signatures flooded the network, demanding his return. Advertisers threatened to pull spots. Focus groups condemned the cold, corporate treatment of their hero. Yet CBS refused to budge, killing Gideon off screen 7 years later in 2014. His unceremonious death in a remote cabin sealed the narrative. Loyalty to profit would always outweigh loyalty to the people who made the show great. Into that breach stepped A.J. Cook and Paget Brewster, fan-favorite cast members whose own exits revealed deeper currents of sexism. In May 2010, CBS abruptly fired both actresses, citing budget cuts. Behind closed doors, executives admitted they wanted new women who looked fresher for demographic angles. When Brewster and Cook publicly demanded answers, angry fans amassed 100,000 emails and petitions exceeding 65,000 signatures. Advertisers grew uneasy about being associated with blatant gender discrimination. Press headlines ripped CBS excuse as laughable. Within 6 months, both actresses were reinstated, but the damage lingered. Their short-lived exit became a rallying cry against systemic bias in Hollywood's highest corridors. As A.J. Cook and Paget Brewster returned, the show reasserted itself creatively, but the real shock awaited in 2016. Thomas Gibson, who played Agent Aaron Hotchner for 256 episodes, was filmed on set kicking producer Virgil Williams during a heated argument about script direction. One kick, one moment on camera, unraveled 12 years of goodwill. CBS swiftly fired Gibson the next day, citing a history of on-set infractions including a prior shoving incident and a DUI arrest. Fans erupted in fury. More than 10,000 viewers signed a petition begging for leniency. Some threatened boycotts. Still, CBS held its ground, banishing Gibson's character into witness protection, a euphemism for never coming back. Each of these departures chipped away at Criminal Minds' foundation. Ratings dipped, revenues stumbled, and focus groups began to question whether the network truly understood what had built the show's fervent fandom. Yet despite the turmoil, CBS kept renewing the series until the final episode aired on February 19, 2020. By then, 324 episodes had aired, generating billions of advertising dollars, spin-offs, merchandise lines, and even a resurgence of FBI applications. And yet, the biggest twist was off. Camera, a saga of egos, ethics, and explosive conflicts that nearly toppled a cultural phenomenon. In the upcoming sections, we'll unpack each departure in meticulous detail, examine how CBS decisions reverberated through the cast and crew, and explore why these exits still matter for modern television. From contract negotiations disguised as creative liberty to the spotlight on sexism in network corridors, the real story of Criminal Minds is far darker and more compelling than any plotline filmed on screen. Cumulative word count 780 words. Just after Mandy Patinkin's shock departure in 2007, whispers on the CBS lot became full-blown rumors. Crew members who'd worked with him for 2 seasons describe a man tortured by the darkness of the show's scripts. One camera assistant even recalled Patinkin gesturing wildly during the read-through for the Revelations episode, slamming his script on the table and muttering, "This is more horror than psychology." That scene was meant to depict child abuse, so graphically that test audiences in Atlanta walked out in tears. Patinkin, who had signed on precisely because he admired the show's promise of cerebral drama, saw that scene as a betrayal of the BIU's true purpose. The shutdown was immediate. Phantom urgency swept through hair, makeup, and wardrobe as producers raced to rewrite pages. Props had to be repainted, locations shifted. Days later, the network issued a bland statement citing creative differences. But insiders knew the real cost: a 6-figure rewrite bill and a month-long shooting delay that threatened the show's fall schedule. Behind the scenes, the toll on Patinkin was far more personal. According to a 2012 interview in The Hollywood Reporter, he described an emotional breakdown where he lost grip on who I was. Friends say he began having nightmares about the criminals he profiled on screen and could barely sleep between takes. On one occasion, a makeup artist found him curled up in a trailer, whispering lines from the script like an exorcism. That same day, security cameras in the backlot, later leaked to tabloids, captured Patinkin storming off set, face flushed, followed by a flustered assistant producer. No kicking or shouting detectable on tape, just a man recoiling from the abyss of the scenes before him. Reality and fiction converged in 2007, when Patinkin announced his departure. Effective end of Season 2. Fans awoke to tragic headlines. Gideon leaves BAU. Patinkin walks off Criminal Minds. The network released a safe-sounding memo praising his tremendous contribution and promising to honor his legacy. But beneath corporate platitudes lay raw resentment. In private meetings, CBS executives griped that they'd bent over backward to accommodate the actor, adding counseling off, camera and script adjustments that still didn't appease him. He was undermining the product. One unnamed suit complained. Every rewrite felt like he was begging to leave. Yet loyalty to artistic integrity can be a double-edged sword. One wrong scene, one refusal to compromise, and a show's flagship star can vanish in a heartbeat. The aftermath rippled through social media's infancy. Message boards on IMDb and early Facebook groups exploded with petitions. One site, Save Jason Gideon.com, garnered over 25,000 signatures within 48 hours. Advertisers began whispering of boycotts if the show couldn't treat its talent with respect. Why plug car brands and cell phones? Nielsen ratings slipped by 12% in October 2007, a downturn that CBS tried to mask by hyping a two-part crossover with CSI. Yet numbers don't lie. The network had miscalculated. Viewers didn't tune in merely for car chases or stare-downs with suspects. They came for the unflinching humanity of Jason Gideon. Without him, the BAU felt hollow. Fast forward to October 2014. Almost 7 years had passed since Patinkin's quiet exit. When Season 10 premiered, fans were stunned to learn Gideon had been killed off-screen. His body found in a remote North Carolina cabin. There was no cameo, no homage, not even a flashback. CBS insisted the choice was narratively driven, but insiders whisper that it was retribution. By then, Patinkin's occasional public criticisms of the show, calling certain episodes too exploitative, had become grist for internal grudges. Killing Gideon permanently was a statement. Dissent was not an option. Yet the network hadn't learned how to handle backlash. The Gideon Murders episode debuted to 12.3 million viewers, a respectable figure until compared with the 16.3 million who watched his first appearance nearly a decade prior. Within 24 hours, fan forums lit up with outrage. Tweets bearing "Bring back Gideon" trended in the US and Canada. A Change.org petition to resurrect Gideon cleared 40,000 signatures by the end of day 2. Even setbacks in the writers' strike of 2014 couldn't overshadow the audience's fury. CBS issued another missive, this time promising a cameo appearance via hallucination, only to scrap it when focus groups rated the idea as tacky. The network had boxed itself in too punitive to welcome Patinkin's return, too tone-deaf to appease viewers hungry for closure. But Criminal Minds marched on. In the vacuum of Gideon's absence, the show leaned heavily on new characters. Gideon's successor, David Rossi, Joe Mantegna, was introduced in Season 3, not as a replacement, but as a counterweight. Rossi's world, wariness and penchant for storytelling provided a different emotional anchor. Yet he lacked Gideon's gravitas, the lived-in exhaustion that resonated with viewers. Episodes featuring childhood trauma cases, hostage standoffs, and serial killer mind games still performed well, but the undercurrents of resentment bubbled beneath the surface. The Gideon saga set a blueprint for how not to lose key talent. It revealed that a star's integrity and connection to the material are irreplaceable currencies in a long-running series. It also exposed systemic flaws, a network more focused on quarterly profits than the human cost of storytelling. In that chasm, other controversies waited in the wings, none more explosive than the wholesale firing of A.J. Cook and Paget Brewster in 2010. In just a few months, June and July 2010 became a case study in corporate overreach. Cook and Brewster, playing J.J. and Emily Prentice respectively, had become fan darlings by Season 5. J.J.'s empathy-centered profiling and Prentice's globe-trotting backstory offered a welcome feminine balance. Yet, budget cuts hit hard. Without warning, CBS announced they were trimming its BAU roster, dropping Cook after 131 episodes and Brewster after 105. The official line spoke of shifting creative priorities. The unspoken buzz centered on demos and advertising slots geared toward younger female viewers. Network executives allegedly noted that veteran actresses didn't fit their coveted 1834 bracket, despite the fact that strong female leads drove social media engagement at the time. Fans erupted. Within 48 hours, over 100,000 emails flooded CBS Studios' change. Org petitions amassed more than 65,000 signatures each. Entertainment news outlets lambasted the move as short-sighted and boys' club mentality. One blogger cheekily titled her post, "CBS, Women Are Cancelled." The dust unsettled even industry trade publications, which questioned how a top-rated series could risk alienating its core demographic to chase a fleeting advertiser trend. Eventually, the backlash proved too loud. By December 2010, both actresses were back on prime time rosters, and CBS issued glowingly vague apologies promising richer storylines for the duo. But the scars remain. Episode ratings for Season 6 opened down 8% from the year before, an indicator that the misstep had cost the show precious viewer goodwill. The parallel between Gideon's exodus and the Cook-Brewster fiasco is stark. Both involved top-tier talent feeling undervalued. Both triggered mass protesting from fans, and both spotlighted a network's willingness to gamble on punitive actions over nuanced negotiation. CBS had mastered content delivery, but not conflict resolution. Just days before cameras were set to roll on Season 12, an incident shattered any remaining illusion that Criminal Minds existed in a bubble immune from real-world explosions. On August 11, 2016, veteran actor Thomas Gibson, who had inhabited Aaron Hotchner's stoic leadership for 256 episodes, lost control. In the middle of a tense discussion about a script revision, Gibson exploded. Witnesses say he shoved writer-producer Virgil Williams against a wall before delivering a forceful kick to his thigh. Crew members froze. For a series accustomed to fictional violence choreographed in safe stages, this was as raw and unscripted as it could get. Security footage confirmed what onlookers described Gibson's aggression was no accident or playful gesture. It was a deliberate attack in front of stunned cast and crew. This was not Gibson's first brush with on-set conflict. 6 years earlier, during a late-night shoot in 2010, he allegedly shoved an assistant director who had urged him to redo a complicated shot. He was sent to mandatory anger management, an offer he honored sporadically, missing multiple sessions according to court records. In 2013, Gibson was arrested for reckless driving after a DUI incident, another blemish on his public image. CBS executives believed they could manage his occasional outbursts, chalking them up to the pressures of directing while starring in 22-episode seasons. Yet by 2016, tensions had reached breaking point. Writers and crew members were ostracized by Gibson's unpredictability, morale faltered, and whispers of a mutiny against him rippled through the lot. When the kick happened in August, CBS moved with unprecedented speed. Within 24 hours, Gibson was escorted off the lot, his keycard deactivated, and his character's fate sealed. The official statement cited a serious alteration of the workplace environment and reminded viewers that violence will not be tolerated. There was no negotiating. Gibson's departure was announced in a terse memo devoid of gratitude or nuance. The man who had carried the emotional core of the BAU for more than a decade was gone. Hotchner slipped into witness protection, a storyline euphemism that mirrored real life, vanishing without return. Fans reacted with predictable fury. A change. Org petition demanding Gibson's reinstatement soared past 10,000 signatures in hours. Hashtags like #PayBringBackHotch trended on Twitter, and entertainment news sites lit up with commentary on CBS' cold-hearted decision. Social media posts oscillated between sympathy for Williams and nostalgia for a character many saw as the show's moral compass. Ratings for the season 13 premiere dipped by 9% compared to the year prior. A meaningful slump for a series that prided itself on stability. Sponsors reportedly expressed concern that a leading actor's alleged aggression could taint their brand partnerships. For the first time, CBS' bottom line trembled under the weight of off-camera drama. Behind the headlines, the writing staff scrambled to recalibrate storylines. Hotchner's absence created a leadership void. Showrunner Erica Messer briefly considered elevating Rossi, or spinning off a temporary team led by Luke Alves, the freshly introduced fugitive tracker. In the end, the producers opted for an ensemble structure. They distributed Hotchner's responsibilities across 3 characters, each given a heightened emotional arc. Reed's strategic analysis, Morgan's hands-on tactics, and Garcia's tech-driven undercover expertise. It was a smart pivot, an attempt to dilute star power into a democratic team dynamic. But it felt engineered. Viewers tuned out, sensing a subtle loss of cohesion. Dialogue became more expository as writers rushed to justify the fractured command hierarchy. Perhaps the most lasting consequence was the damage to on-set culture. Crew morale plummeted in Gibson's final months, with veteran grips requesting transfers to other CBS productions. Writers admitted in private interviews that they self-censored, avoiding storylines that might spark another actor's ire. New hires were warned of Hotch's temper before ever meeting Gibson in person. Trust eroded. If one of the most respected figures on set could erupt without repercussion, what did that say about protections for others? Gibson's exit thus became a cautionary tale of how unchecked behavior can corrode a team, no matter how talented its members. In the months following, CBS faced a choice: recast Hotchner, fully retire the character, or find an unexpected way back. They chose total retirement. Hotchner's final appearance flickered into a brief, largely ignored online cameo, but the network never invested in a meaningful return. Instead, they leaned into new guest stars and thematic mini-arcs, each promising a return to roots moment that seldom materialized. Viewers were given sound bites about unresolved grief, survivor's guilt, and the BAU's fractured identity, but the emotional authenticity Gibson had embodied was gone for good. This dramatic rupture revealed a hidden truth. In a world of scripted investigations, the real human element, actor relationships, mental health, workplace respect, proved far more volatile than any fictional serial killer. The Gibson saga underscored the delicate balance between protecting a show's engine and protecting its people. Ratings taught CBS a hard lesson: audiences value stability, but not at the cost of human decency. The network's steadfast refusal to rehabilitate or reintegrate Gibson left a scar on Criminal Minds' legacy, arguably hastening its final curtain on February 19, 2020. As we move forward, the next departures, Jennifer Love Hewitt's hamstrung stint and Shamar Moore's voluntary exit, will illustrate contrasting lessons. Hewitt's short-lived run opened old wounds about on-set culture, while Moore's graceful departure showcased the power of mutual respect. In Section 4, we'll dissect these chapters, drawing fresh insights into what networks can learn from both failure and success in talent relations. In 2014, CBS made headlines again by adding Jennifer Love Hewitt to its BU roster. The acclaimed actress was introduced as Senior Agent Kate Callahan, a former undercover specialist recruited to bring fresh insight on complex cases. The announcement generated buzz across social media, with magazines speculating on how her charisma would alter team dynamics. When her first episode aired in September, promotional clips teased edgy undercover stings and high-stakes drama. Yet beneath the glossy marketing lay mounting tensions. According to crew accounts, Hewitt's eagerness to secure screen time prompted demands for script rewrites. Behind closed doors, some co-stars bristled at last-minute changes that delayed shooting schedules and forced production to juggle conflicting priorities. Stories circulated that Hewitt often arrived late to set, demanding extra rehearsal time for emotionally intense scenes. One night shoot extended past midnight when she insisted on shooting an additional close-up, forcing grips to hold cues in uncomfortable heat under glaring lights. Rumors swirled of heated exchanges between Hewitt and veteran cast, as Matthew Gray Gubler politely raised concerns about last-minute script changes jeopardizing continuity. Production memos, leaked years later, noted that her contract included a clause for approval over storylines that featured her character, a rarity on network television. While some hailed her creative control as progress for actors, veteran crew members saw it as impractical entitlement that disrupted carefully plotted schedules. On May 6, 2015, after just 23 episodes, Hewitt's departure was announced. CBS attributed her exit to personal reasons and creative direction, but insiders hint at deeper conflicts. Tensions with co-stars grew, with A.J. Cook reportedly frustrated at last-minute rewrites that cut into her own scenes. Network sources claimed the budget overruns tied to re-shoots for Hewitt initiated changes had cost the production over $800,000. By the time her final episode aired, fan chatter had shifted from excitement to wary skepticism. While the network tried to spin her departure as amicable, most observers agreed that a clash of creative cultures had derailed a high-profile casting experiment. Fan disappointment lingered publicly long after broadcast. Contrast that turmoil with Shemar Moore's departure in March 2016. Known for his grounded portrayal of Derek Morgan, Moore stunned fans when he announced on March 23 that he would be stepping away after 252 episodes, unlike previous exits marred by conflict or mystery. Moore's decision was portrayed as calm and thoughtful. He cited family obligations, his mother's battle with multiple sclerosis, and a desire to pursue new creative avenues. In a heartfelt video message, he thanked fans for their unwavering support and praised his castmates and crew for a sense of camaraderie that made the BAU feel like family. His grace under pressure set a new standard for talent exits. His final episode was crafted as a celebratory farewell. The writers gave Morgan an emotional exit, granting him a storyline where he chose to prioritize impending fatherhood over the dangers of field work. Ratings for the March 23 premiere spiked by 15%, a rare uptick for a long-running series. Fans flooded social media with tributes, sharing clips of Morgan's greatest moments under the hashtag #FefMorgan4Life. Merchandise featuring Morgan's iconic leather jacket experienced a 40% surge in sales. CBS executives were astonished. A voluntary departure had galvanized viewers far more effectively than any scandal. Moore's exit became a masterclass in how to depart on one's own terms. Moore's departure underscored the importance of mutual respect between talent and network. Where previous exits had been marred by secrecy and corporate posturing, his exit reinforced trust. Viewers believed they were seeing a genuine farewell rather than a staged PR move. CBS took note, adopting more transparent communications for subsequent casting changes. Producers began involving actors earlier in storyline discussions and budgeting extra days when high-profile talent announced departures. By the time Criminal Minds transitioned into its evolution reboot in 2022, the industry had already absorbed Moore's blueprint, prioritizing respectful handling over punitive measures. These 4 departures paint a vivid arc of evolving backstage culture, from Mandy Patinkin's moral stand against gratuitous violence, through A.J. Cook and Paget Brewster's gender based fight for recognition, to Thomas Gibson's explosive breach of professionalism. And finally, Shamar Moore's graceful exit, grounded in personal integrity. Each episode offers lessons in talent management. CBS' initial instinct to control narratives by sidelining stars gave way, albeit slowly, to collaborative solutions.